And today I welcome you on our program, Business Talk. I have in the studio a financial guru, somebody who started his banking career in Nigeria and rose through the rank and files in the American system to become the vice president of Citigroup. Welcome today. Someone who, after leaving the Citigroup, decided to go into his own practice of financial management, business consultancy, is a realtor in the United States of America. Welcome, Edward Somori. Edward, you are welcome today.
Thank you for having me.
Today, we want to be talking about a very important matter that matters to everybody. Everybody spends money. Everybody uses money. In fact, if there's no money in a home, the home will be upside down. Everything around us, if not everything, most of the things around us revolve around money. So what are we talking about? Money. If you're in business, you need money. If you're an employer, you pay money. An employee receives salary in terms of remunerations of money at the end of the month or at the end of the week, according to agreement. So today, Mr. Somori, can you tell us a little bit about your background in the financial world?
Well, you probably said it all. I've been in banking for almost a little over 2 decades. I started in Nigeria and then I came here, decided to continue. And finance is all I have done. Worked with a couple of banks in Nigeria, including a savings and loans. And then when I got here into the United States, I worked with a smaller commercial bank, and from there somebody spotted me and recruited me into Citigroup, and the rest is history.
That's beautiful. Now, we want to look at a very important banking terminology. Know your client or know your customer. They call it KYC. Can you please give us a background of how the word came about? This very important banking terminology.
Banking, like any other profession, is a moving industry, and everything in banking, what worked yesterday may not necessarily be very potent today, because the world is evolving, and so every industry, not just banking, should be got to keep moving as things are moving. So back in the day, you can have any type of business, and I can come from anywhere and just buy and work, and you don't have to know me. You may not cross my path again, and that is it. But with banking, or with any industry, as the industries grow or the business grow, you want to have repeat clients. That is for the business. But at the same time, if there is a problem, you want to be able to trace the source, the people affected, and the way to remedy the situation. And this is where data collection started, or one of the importance of collecting data. So KYC stemmed from something similar. The financial industry had issues with money laundering and a lot of other problems. Then when there's a crime and the crime is discovered and we want to know who are the parties involved, and you go to the bank who is at the center of the crime, and they tell you, oh, I don't know who the person is. I just have an account opened, and or I just received some money for investment, but I don't really know who the guy is. But remember, we are talking of hundreds of millions of dollars transactions that goes through banks. And how do you have such an amount and you don't know
The
the,
people.
the details
The
behind the depositors? So different incidents happened, different cases happened. You have frauds, you have money laundering, you have, I mean, countries defrauding their national money from their national purse.
You mean politicians?
Politicians,
Head of
rulers,
government, yeah.
senior public figures, like
Yeah.
we call them in the banking world, defrauding their country the money that's meant for the entire nation. And then, if you're a bank, and I'm a senior public person, and I'm bringing in billions of dollars to you, you should know who I am and what is the source of the money. So that KYC subject is always expanding and increasing. So banks, unlike what it used to be,
Yeah.
for their self, number one, to know their, I mean, to be able to have repeat business, to also know, to keep a reputation for themselves. They have to now start gathering this information about their clients. What you don't know about banking is it's not just the deposits and the withdrawal. There are a whole lot of other marketing outlets that results from gathering of information.
So what are these marketing activities that come together? Can you mention some of them?
So, for example, how do we target who we categorize as our premium clients? And I don't know if you know, in banking, you have the regular banking, regular depositors. Then you have some people, they will say, oh, this, for example, in my organization, some people we categorize as gold clients. These are people that have maybe, say, 50 or 100,000 and above, up to 1 million and things like that. Then you have some set of people that you don't ever see in the banking hall. I mean, can you think about it? Like, even when you were in Nigeria, if you will see somebody like Mike Adenuga walking in a banking hall, into a banking hall, and I want to make a withdrawal.
That's actually impossible.
So they have a select product for these guys. Some people have private banking, and then some people have some other type of name they call. These people don't have to come to the banking hall. So how do you target clients like that? It's by gathering this type of information, and then you now process this information. When you want to roll out any special product, then you know who to target and how to find these people to send the targeted marketing materials to them. So these are some of the things that.
So was there any particular incident that triggered the KYC?
There are a lot of things happen, and I'll give you a couple of examples of. I mean, it's a whole lot. It's been on, but the drug issue, the money laundering issue, led to the birth of KYC. Now, particularly in the U.S., the drug issue is a huge problem. terrorism is a huge problem. And we know that the money that is being laundered is coming from an unclean source and is being used to fund unhealthy things. So this led the authority to decide that, okay, for example, let's take the drugs. Drugs was, people were being killed, human trafficking, and the government being corrupt, guns on the street. How do we stop this? And then this drug money, what is the money being used to do? And initially it will come in and then it will just go into the system untraced, undetected, and everything will just work. So in Mexico, maybe 1985, 86, or 95, some issues there in Mexico where they had all this drug money and people being killed, and the guy, you get him and you say, hey, I do clean business, my money is in the bank. How do we nail him? We have to find his source. How is the money getting to the bank, and how is he able to layer the money in and send it into the economy? So they went to the bank and said, okay, this guy has so much money. Who is he? Oh, we don't know him. What is his business? We don't know what his business is. All we know is that he has money. There's also a prominent African leader who had hundreds of millions of dollars in the U.S. bank. And the leader was notoriously bad and wicked, but the bank had his money. And when the bank was approached, who is this person? Oh, we don't know him. He's just an investor. What is his business? We don't know his business. So the whole idea is the government wanted the banks to have some sense of responsibility, whereby if you do business with us, we are not just collecting your money, but we truly know the source of your money, so that you don't kill people on the street and then bring money to the bank and we are celebrating you. And particularly the terrorism funding, that was huge. And for years, America has been under attack from, terrorists. I don't want to brand a particular group or whatever. But how do we solve this problem? How are these people getting funds to carry out this high level activity? What do we do? So the way to go after them is to stop the funds. Let's trace the money. So they put all these things in place so that we can trace monies when they come into the bank, and we can also trace them when they go out. So we know where it's coming from and where it's going.
Thank you very much. Now, can we streamline a little bit?
Okay.
Was there any incident of penalty for some of the banks when you were in the banking sector in the US? Could you tell us if any bank was asked for not being able to know the clients that brought money to them?
Oh yes, a lot of banks, and like I said, it's a moving situation. Moving.
It's an unfolding.
It's still
unfolding,
and it continues.
Yeah.
And there are banks. Banks have been closed in the Washington metro area, in the U.S. at large, as a matter of fact, for breaching KYC. Banks have been fined in the hundreds of millions, some of them tens of $billions for breaching KYC. Even some as recent as last year. A big bank in the Washington D.C. metropolitan area was fined over, I think, $300 and something million.
Excuse me, and they pay the money.
You either pay or you lose your license.
So, does that mean the banks have billions of dollars? How do they manage to continue after paying such a penalty?
Well, banks, these big banks, you have to, they make money. And banks make money in different ways.
Mm.
So, and sometimes they don't. Well, I won't even imagine any bank without a solid reserve, to be in operations. But then you also know that there's what we call interbank lending.
Yeah.
So if there is any issue, and they will still do what they need to do to cover their face, because
Yeah.
once you are unable to meet any obligation, whether in terms of paying fines or meeting your customers' demand, then you are a few seconds away from falling out.
Mm.
That is just how banks operate.
That's
You just
interesting.
need one person to say, "Oh, I went to that bank and they were unable to pay me,"
Mm.
and it will cause a runoff.
Mm.
And the next thing is, "Oh, I bank with them. It means there's a problem. I need to go." So that single incident could actually lead to a real incident. People now will go in there. When I was in the bank in Nigeria, this was the single thing that was killing banks and finance houses back then. I happened to be a pioneering member of a savings and loan at the time. And I remember when we were starting, my boss told us that we are going to survive, and we are going to survive the wave. The way we are going to go about it is making sure that we are prudent with our decisions, but at the same time, we are timely with meeting our customers' demand.
Mm.
So, we were very, very conservative with the way we lend. But if you are a depositor and you have $1 billion with us and you need $1 billion right away, we will make sure you get your $1 billion, because we looked at some of the finance houses that went under, like Forum and the likes at that time. And we realized that some of them did not actually have problems. But just because you went there today and they said, "Oh yeah, we have contacted our correspondent bank and we are waiting for the fund to come,"
Yeah.
just exercise patience. And you go back to tell Mr. B that, "Oh, I went to my bank and they were unable to pay me my
That's
money."
how the thing begins to spoil.
The news will go around, and then there will be a run out on the bank. And
Thank you, Edward. Now, before we wrap up, for somebody who wants to start a business, what should be the first thing you should think about? Coming from a financial background, what should be the first thing somebody who wants to start a business should consider before going into business?
starting a business could be challenging and interesting. Now, you probably would think I will say, "Oh, if you want to start a business, first of all, think of the money." No.
Hmm.
If you want to start a business, the number one thing you need to do is know the business. Understand the business. If you understand exactly what you want to do, then you'll be able to work out where will I need money, and then how, the where and the how. How will I find the money? And then the number three thing to add to the where and the how is, what are my alternatives? So, but you cannot answer these three questions if you don't know the
of the business. So just as the banks who are doing know your customer, know your client, the entrepreneur or businessman should also know your
You should
business.
know your business.
So that's the primary thing that everybody should know. How do people raise money? Let's assume I know what I want to do, or let's say I'm a graduate from the college and I've been empowered to go into entrepreneurship and I want to start as a fresh entrepreneur. How do I raise funds to start my business?
Okay. I know this is a global program,
Yeah.
and the ways and matters on as to how people go about raising funds differs, and in most cases, it's based on what their environment has to offer them. Now, I'll give you an example. Here in the US, if you have the idea and you understand what you are doing, you can, and you have good credit,
Yeah.
you can approach a bank and say, here are my ideas. And whether you are the son of a farmer or the son of the president, you will be treated the same way based on your credit. And if you have what it takes, you will be able to get what you need. Now, it does not mean that you can always, just because you have good credit, get that. Now, you also have some other organizations like what I do, for example, whereby you go to the mainstream bank and they are unable to accede to your request,
Yeah.
and then they will say, oh yes, you have the credit, but financial wise, income wise, you are not qualified. And then you can come to an organization like mine where we don't look at the income before we start, but we look at the prospect that you have in front of us, and look at the future and say, okay, here we can put money into this because we see
The prospect.
And I give you an example.
Okay.
Do you know the guy that started Uber? Young student, traveled and was waiting for a car and just thought about it that, you know, I can do this. But before he got the financing that he got, he went to, I don't know if you watch this NBC program called Tank Shack, or it's a group of investors, and you'll come, you'll present your idea, and they will look at it and decide if they want to invest or not. And one of the guys there said, really, you think some person will drive for you but use his own car? That's a crazy idea. And I'm not going to invest in
my money into that.
I cannot. And 4 years later, Uber is $1 billion company. And the guy came out and said, on this one, I made a mistake. The guy didn't have anything. He had the idea, went to the right people, presented the idea. The people that would have helped him, they said no. But somebody that is in the same industry like what I do now saw the idea and said, you know what? I'm going to give it a shot. What do you need? That is this environment. In Nigeria, you may not get that. In Togo, you may not have that. So your environment really determines what opportunity you have in terms of raising finance.
Viewers across the globe, I think if you have not picked anything from this discussion today, for that dreamer, that vision, that upcoming businessman, that prospective entrepreneur, from what Edward has said today, don't let the vision die because of money. Don't keep the vision because somebody does not believe. Keep on pushing. Maybe one day you're going to meet somebody who's going to believe in your dreams. And until you meet that one person that's going to believe in your dreams
Keep going.
and visions, keep going.
Keep going. Keep going.
Thank you very much. I wish to bring Edwards back in a very positive, short possible time available to us on other topics. But till then, this is on Business Track. We are on Business Talk. Thank you very much. Stay blessed. Bye.